Koyanami, thank you. When your predecessor, Minister for ISK, Paddy Haidu at the time, decided politically without evidence to suddenly cut the Hamlet food voucher program of the Inuit Child First Initiative, some of the language that she used to kind of explain why you've used yourself to say that it's because some people were taking advantage of the program. I think that what you need to realize is the people that were taking advantage of the program are people in poverty, people that don't have many opportunities for employment. And I've now did a order paper question regarding the food voucher program and have now learned what the totals for Nunavut were. And the totals, it estimated that it helped about 15,000 Inuit children. That's a lot for Nunavut. When we calculated the overall amount, that figure came to about $18 per day per child. That's not a lot of money, I don't think, to help people in poverty. That program was so helpful to Inuit families that when it was suddenly cut, they didn't understand why. And then for this government to say that people were taking advantage of it, for people to say that it's like it tugs at my heart when you say that. So for example, when all of a sudden Inuit families had to do a lot more paperwork to the changes, it meant, for example, a single mother of 7, a single Inuk mother of 7 children had to do tons of paperwork to try and access that program, most likely only to be denied. Even though she's a single mother of 7 with no job, for some reason she was now not eligible for the program. In addition, her story is not unique. Nunavut has a poverty rate of 42%. Nunavut has an unemployment rate of 13.2%. When we're thinking of the backlog for Indigenous peoples across Canada, we know, for example, that it's been reported that for Jordan's principal cases, the backlog is at about 140,000 cases. That is a lot of children and a lot of First Indigenous children's families who are being left in limbo because us can't decide if those children's treatment deserves to be paid for. So this is why we're so passionate about making sure, for example, that there are no cuts to Indigenous Services Canada, that there are no cuts to Inuit Child First Initiative, that there are no cuts to Jordan's Principle. When you're celebrating your successes because of what was reported in the Auditor General's report, please remember those stories, those families that can't feed their children, those families that can't get medical care, those children that in the Department of Education can't get better equipment so that they can learn better. You need to make sure that you're a bit more careful when you're talking about what successes are and what the previous 10 years before the Liberals came in and the current 10 years while the Liberals have been here. What First Nations, Métis, and Inuit have experienced are constant cuts. Every year, cuts to these programs that Indigenous peoples rely on. And I need to remind you that Indigenous peoples, because of the way that systems have worked, are forced to rely on federal programs. We are forced, but to take, because there's no other employment opportunities, right? There's, especially in Nunavut, where all the communities are fly-in communities, there's no screening available for children to get their screening in schools in a community. They have to be flown out. So to see cuts being made to the non-insured health benefits program was also a concern. And we have all these major issues that we need to have you here to say you will commit to making sure that there are no cuts. Indeed, the national Indigenous organizations in their pre-budget submissions were calling for more funds, and they were ignored too. And I wonder if you could respond to some of these national Indigenous organizations. Why were you okay with the cuts that were made when they were calling for more funding for programs, for more funding for infrastructure?
Lori, that brings you to well over the 5 minutes. Perhaps the minister could respond to you in writing, as the time has expired, and there was quite a list there to respond to. So thank you very much for your time here today, everyone. I really, truly, really appreciate it, Minister, and thank you for the time. I'm just looking at the members. Do we have consensus to finish the meeting? Yep. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Chief Miigwech.